Good morning.
Wow.
everyone.
I love it. Theme
Whew.
music, man. That's awesome.
We're back for another episode of Trap Chat with the Shark. This week we have a very special guest all the way from Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeehaw.
Trey McCampbell. I'm going to let you introduce
Hey.
yourself.
Hey, guys. So, yeah, my name is Trey McCampbell, and I am, first of all, I'm a unicorn. I am a native Nashvilleian. You don't find a lot of those around here. Yeehaw.
Honky Tonk USA.
That's right. So, and I am currently the director of sales for 5 Diamond Screening. We are a background screening provider. And I'm just really appreciative of you guys let us guys hop on the show yesterday. Staffing Shark was terrific, and letting me hop on with you guys again today and kind of chit chat. I'm on a mission, guys. Okay, I'm on a mission, and my mission is to have people. Let's talk about background screening, because nobody wants to talk about it. It's a box they check, and then their bean counters tell them, okay, here's how much it cost you. It's just like no one's having a real discussion about it, and they get all ew. And I'm like, let's talk about it. You're in the staffing world. Let's have a real discussion about it. And it's just one of those things where, I don't know, that's kind of it, be that as it may. This quest has only been going on for a few months, so we're early in the quest. So I appreciate you guys helping me on the path. How about that?
Oh, anytime.
Oh, thank you. So why do you think that background screening gets such a bad rep in our industry specifically? I mean, we're in staffing. You want to bring in the right people. Why do you think it gets such a bad rep?
I think there's a couple of things that play into that. And first of all, let's talk about the candidates. Okay. No matter who you're using for your background screening, that part doesn't matter. When your candidates find out that they're going to get a background screen, it can be kind of nervous or nerve wracking, even if you got a clean history, because somebody's about to really crawl up my keister and look around and, take a look at my entire life and things like that. And I think that a lot of background companies don't take the steps necessary to make it easy and comfortable for the applicant. Okay, that's part of it. So that's part of it's not on you guys in staffing. I mean, that's actually part of the background screening companies. A lot of it. The second thing is I think that people don't necessarily want to talk about it, because I think in a lot of cases, my company focuses almost solely on the hospitality industry. A lot of them don't necessarily. A lot of our folks are worried about the background screen, because in many cases they are scared of who they're going to weed out, or they just sort of want to, or at the very worst, they just want something cheap and fast, and they're going to check the box. Yes, I did a background screen. We're good to go. And not realizing that all background screens are not created equal. And so if there's a third thing, honestly, KG, I'd tell you, it's that when you do have a problem, or if you have something that shows up, a lot of times you don't find like you can't get help and an answer to find out exactly what's going on. Or maybe it takes sometimes it takes a day, sometimes it takes 2 weeks, and a lot of times you're calling the screening company trying to figure out what's going on. So service in the screening industry has not been historically very, very good. So as I said before, it's kind of, it's one of those boxes that you kind of want to check and you want to move on with life, not realizing that, are we in the people business? Isn't staffing? Aren't we in the people business? I mean, it's a people business.
Yeah,
and no matter what industry you're staffing for, your people are your life's blood. It needs to be important, and it doesn't need to be scary. It just means we're going to get the best person. You've got the best person. You've made a decision. Let's make sure that person is exactly the right person for the job, and let's get them on the job quicker. And I think it's kind of a shame, because it doesn't need to be that way.
Yeah. So do you think it's like the trade-off with the fast-paced and high volume in industry, such as hospitality that you work in, that's really the ones that are making those concessions, or do you see it across the board, regardless of industry?
Well, at my last stop, I worked at the largest screening company in the country, and probably by now the world. And I dealt with all industries. And so it's not just hospitality. Now, we feel it in hospitality a little bit more because, well, until COVID, which, right now we're in a whole different ball game. But up until COVID, it really is potentially high turnover, and they need, when I find somebody, I got to get them on the job quick. Right.
Right.
And the problem has not necessarily been that getting a good check takes forever. It's just helping people be educated and understanding what are you actually getting. Because guys, I don't know if you know this, But any one of us could like get online right now and do a background check on just about anybody. I'd have it back in, I can pay $10 and have it back in 10 minutes.
I may or may not have done that.
Yeah.
In the past.
Yeah. Hey, I'm telling you. Yeah. I had somebody renting from me one time.
But is it good or not? It's not valid, really.
Right. You kind of get what you pay for. And I say that all the time because honestly, there's a lot more that goes into it, but I don't think people understand that. Like I said, they kind of want to check a box. So you're right. The high turnover and the fast pace kind of plays into that. And I don't think people really understand. First of all, I don't think a lot of companies understand what are my tolerances, for example.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so look, I'm going to hire somebody who, for example, is going to be a housekeeper. Okay. Do I really care necessarily that 5 years ago they had a DUI if they can get to work on time? You know what I mean? Are there things that I'm willing to like sort of say, okay. And so a lot of people are just, they don't set their, what they're going to use to sort of make their hiring decision on. They don't necessarily, they're just looking to see the big stuff. Are they on the National Sex Offender Registry and have they ever committed a federal crime? And what a lot of people don't realize is every county in the country and every state in the country doesn't necessarily report to the federal database. If your person ever lived in the state of New York, for example, and you do one of these little online clickety click things, you're not getting New York. Most likely you have to go through a few extra hoops to get information out of New York. So it's a combination of understanding what you're wanting and what your tolerances are, and then understanding what you're getting for your money.
I like that, what your tolerances are.
I think I made that up. I'm not so sure that's actually.
No, I think that's a good thing.
Like, I love it. It's like, if you're hiring somebody if you're not hiring somebody to handle money, for example, maybe.
Right. Don't do the credit part.
Right. I mean, exactly. Yeah. There's all kinds of things like that come into it. But I don't think people do a lot of exploring. I think they're just like, okay, I found the right person. Let's run them through, check the box, and out the door.
Yeah, I had that experience. I worked at the largest defense contractors, and
you got a clearance.
So we even had a policy at the one that I worked with at the longest for 8 years that if they had a certain level clearance, like we weren't running a background screening on them because of the time and because of that added, asking the person to get their paperwork in and asking them to do this. Things were a little bit slower than, in the early 2010s-ish, things were a little bit slower. So I get that, but I do want to tell you about this situation that I had. It stuck, like a few things stick with me. And I had a young person, who had just gotten out of the military. We hired this person in Hawaii. Not only was it a hard to fill position, but like this person, this guy was so excited. Like he was so excited. All we had to do was like get his clearance transferred and whatever. But he hit that threshold where he didn't have the level of clearance where we wouldn't check, Right. So getting ready that weekend, he goes out and I made him the offer, verbally. And I was like, it was late on a Friday because again, he's in Hawaii. So the coordinators were gone, so we weren't getting that out till Monday. He goes out, gets drunk, celebrating. Okay. He was celebrating, celebrates, gets in trouble. And according to our guidelines, and he calls me and says, this is going to show up on my background. And I'm like, excuse me? You did what? And like there are things like that where you have to go to some like, yes, listen, like we can't, like we can't make one thing like that. Now, mind you, thankfully, he did not hurt anyone. He did not hurt himself. Thankfully. Yeah. If that had happened, I probably wouldn't have gone to bat so hard for him and like begged, and not just to fill the position, but because I'm like, this could really change his whole life. Absolutely. And do you think that there are, and I'm going to say recruiters because we're the ones that a lot of times are the ones that are looking at, or, we're the ones that are validating or saying, who passes, who fails based on the results. Like we're the ones looking at the information, so to speak, looking at what you guys return to us, I should say. We don't look at background screenings. Job seekers, just so you know, we don't see everything that you put on there. It is confidential. It's confidential, but we get back, certain items that say this did not meet certain criteria. And it's general. So, he told me though, I wouldn't have
Right.
known what the situation was. I would have just said fail, you know?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But
Yep.
because he called me, that made a difference. So do you think that there's a way that recruiters or whoever is responsible on the company side of reviewing the background screenings, that they can kind of put job seekers at ease and let them know, like don't be afraid of this?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm glad that you brought this up because this is a conversation that doesn't happen a lot of times till it's too late.
Yeah.
First of all, even good people make bad decisions sometimes. Okay. And second of all, on in everybody's screening, and I would say probably if you're dealing with anybody other than just one of those online clickety click things, okay, if they're applying with you, and depending upon basically the candidate with us and with most screening partners, the candidate is putting in their own input.
Okay.
There's a section in everybody's application and in everybody's, when we send them an invitation to put their information in for the background screen, there's an opportunity to self-report. Okay. First of all. Okay. So there's a difference between somebody telling you, by the way, 3 years ago, I hit a cop. I punched him in the mouth and I got thrown in jail for assault. That's going to stay on his record. Okay. Now I tell you this, and again, you get to make the decision. But now he told you.
Right.
There's a difference between nope, they leave that blank. You put in the search, you get back the search, and it shows up. That's where a recruiter or somebody has to make a decision. Is this an indication of the type of person I want doing whatever the job is? Okay, that kind of thing. A lot of the FCRA, it's weird because we do background screening, but because there's personal information involved, we're beholden to the Fair Credit Reporting Act.
Yeah.
And a lot of those guidelines and a lot of those laws are actually kind of in favor of the candidate.
Okay.
You have to give them an opportunity to self-report, which is important, but also we're only going to be able to check what they tell us as far as their information, and
Addresses, all that.
all that kind of thing. And we're going to check. There's a way that we can actually check and find out based upon their social. We can find out all the places they've lived. And then what any background company worth their salt is going to do is going to check. And to your point, your guy, it might not have shown up on his background check. If it happened on a Saturday, you're talking to him on Monday. If you did your screen on Monday, it may or may not have shown up based upon, is the county he's in, did they report it to the state? Did they, is it in the record? Yeah. And are you checking at the county level? This is where those database searches that But in your case, it worked out because he actually told you, and then you make a decision based upon what's going on there. My fear is that most people are checking the box, they're getting a database search, and they don't know that whether it was last week, 6 months ago, or sometimes 3 years ago, if you live in Podunkville, Idaho, that county court may not report to the state or to the federal, and they might have done something horrendous, and they just don't show up in the federal database. That database search may not catch that. You've got to go to the county level. And that's why a lot of times when people are like, gosh, why is it taking so long? Most of the time, if they live in big metropolitan areas, 60% of the courthouses in the United States are completely automated, and we can ping them and check and find out and get a record check like same day. But if you live in one of these places where maybe there's still paper involved and somebody has to go pull the file and look at it, that's when background checks take a little too long for all of our tastes. But it's just if you want it thorough, it's going to take a little bit longer.
And Trey, real quick to elaborate on that, I had candidates before lived in 17 places in like 2 years. So they're not going to put all that down. Is there a way? I mean, how do you trace all that back?
Yeah.
I mean,
depending on what you ask your background screening company to do. And I will tell you the cheapest check you can get is just one name, and you'll take the one name and they'll just look at whatever counties that they tell you that they've lived in or attached to that name. And if they don't list out all the different addresses, depending upon your search and depending on, how much you want to pay your background screening company to do, we can find out every place that person's lived and check all those counties. Even if they said, I've just lived here, here, and here, these are the last 3 places I've lived. Again, this is something you can kind of decide as a hiring person. Do I care where they lived 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever? How deep down the rabbit hole do I want to go? do I want somebody, how concerned am I with this person and I'm going to go kind of say again, like maybe somebody who's a housekeeper or somebody who's doing, who's one of your engineers who's just doing maintenance and things like that. You have to look at what your tolerances are. Because the reality is we can find out anything about anybody. You give us time. But I will tell you this, and this is something I'm glad that you mentioned that too, Richard, because one of the things too is, anybody tells you that they are 100% accurate all the time, every time. There's not a single company on this planet that can do that. Okay. There's absolutely nobody who can give you a 100% accurate check. I'm sitting here working for a background company. I've been doing this for 6 years, and I'm telling you, if they tell you that, they're lying through their teeth, or they're just ignorant of how it works. because there are too many factors in there. Now, I'm going to tell you that most of the background screening companies that have any real worth and are doing their due diligence, it's 99%. I mean, I'm telling you, the past 5 years when I was at the largest screening company in the world, and I managed over 3,000 accounts.
Wow.
We managed about 3,000 accounts, about $88 million of business. That's a lot of checks. 3 came to my attention in 5 years. And in each case, it was somebody who on the applicant side had fat fingered or purposely, not done their name exactly right, or something that caused a little bit of a miss that we should have gone back to the employer immediately and said, hey, by the way, this didn't match this, something like that. But occasionally one will slip through. There are little things like that because the candidate has got to report, their information correctly up front, name, address, name, rank, and serial number, right?
Yeah.
Very, 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 very rarely will that cause a little bit of a glitch. Now, the difference between the ginormous company I was working for and the company that I'm working for now is that human eyes see everything that comes through. Our AI catches a certain amount of it, but if something's wonky, you're going to get an email or a call real quick that says, hey, by the way, I can't get this back to you right away because this doesn't match this, something like that. Or, you told us to check this far back. We have found something. We need to do some more research, that kind of thing. So it's really, you're doing the best what you can with the information that's available is probably the best way to describe it. So it's not completely and totally foolproof, but I mean, 99.9% of the time, you'll find out what it is you need to know. Because let's be honest, most people who've got a record, most people I'd like to think are probably just going to tell you, hey, this is going to show up, right? Surely by now, people are smart enough to know you're not going to slip one past the goalie.
I still have them though.
You have the best analogies.
I forgot about my what I did down the road.
Okay, so this is my last question about background screenings because you're a fun guy. We want to get into some fun questions. For an organization that doesn't have a large budget to spend on background screenings, but background screenings are a necessity for their business, what are, say, the top 3 or 5 things they should be looking for in a company?
In a company. Okay. I'm glad you said that. And this is going to sound like a shameless plug, but the fact of the matter is that,
5.
But the reality is the first thing you want is that this cannot be a push a button, send it into the ether, it comes back, and I move on with life. Okay. When you're looking for someone to partner with to do your background screening, you need to understand what's going into your screens, what their process is. And this is the most, I'm kind of rattling off several things all at once, but really what it comes down to is this needs to be a part of your process. So they need to be a partner, not just another vendor. These are not the people that are selling you chairs for your lobby. These are not the people that are filling your vending machine in the break room. We're the people who are helping you make sure you get the best candidate you take so long to find the right person. You found the right person. We're the people who are going to make sure that person is exactly who they say they are. They are the right person for the job, and we can get them on the job quickly. So you want somebody who has a thorough process. They can explain their process to you. Okay. And the level of communication, that's the biggest key. That was the biggest gap I've seen between all of the major humongous companies. A lot of times what they will do is you should never have to call me to find out where my background screen is. Okay. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. Okay. It's not rocket science. If something is going to take a little longer because we found something in a county in Idaho and some guy named Buford's got to go walking into the county courthouse and go pull a file and look at it. I need to tell you, hey, by the way, we found out this person lived in Podunkville, Idaho. And I keep picking on Idaho. I love Idaho.
I know you are potato people.
It's just fun to say. But, my point is we're going to call you and say, by the way, we would have this back to you today, but we've discovered they lived in this one place. It's going to take a little longer, and we're going to communicate that to you. Okay. Not every company does that. Remember, this is a partnership. It's not just a blind, I'm going to click the button and it goes off in the ether and I don't know what happens and it comes back and I'm good. You want a company that's going to do that for you. You also want a company that is going to offer you a certain amount of automated, what we call adjudication. You kind of tell us up front what your tolerances are. And we can take some of the responsibility and some of the onus on us if something comes up, and we'll send out the communication to the applicant. This is where a lot of companies, hiring companies, and a lot of background screening companies can get you in trouble compliance-wise with the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So, for example, my company will send that letter to that applicant immediately saying that we've found something that requires, give them a chance to. Legally, they have a chance to refute it, that kind of thing. So you want somebody that's going to offer you a certain amount of that level of automation and make that part of things easier. But you want somebody last, and this is where I feel like we shine. You want somebody who can customize a program for your sized business. It's not a cookie cutter business. And I know it seems, I was telling you guys yesterday, the three of us could go start a background screening company tomorrow. If you got the wherewithal to sit in a cubicle and call every county courthouse and get online and look at all these things like that. I mean, it's about service and delivery. The most important thing that we do for our customers is understand every customer is not the same. You need somebody who can customize a program just for you. And I'm going to keep talking about our folks in hospitality because we have hotels, we have hotel management groups that have like 30 or 40 properties, some of them very small, some are very big. They're in different parts of the country. There's different statutes and there's different things they get. I mean, we can't just give them one package, one check to cover everybody. Housekeepers in New York are going to look like this. The janitors in Florida are going to look like this. When you're hiring a front desk clerk in Texas, it's going to look like this. It has to be customizable so that your recruiters know. One of my biggest sayings is, particularly in the hotel business, is let's get the general managers and the people who are not HR people. Let's try to get them out of that business, right? I mean, it's just, let's make that part of things simple. I know that at my property, I found this person. My recruiter, KG, sent me the right person. I'm ready to do their background check. I need to put it in, and I need to get it back quickly, know that it's solid, know that it fits my needs, and then get that person on the job as soon as possible. That customization piece is huge.
Love it. Wow. I could talk to you all day because
I could talk to you all day. This is the most fun I've had all day.
I really could. Like I got my two brothers here. I got you and Rich in the flannel. I'm in my bag. I'm in my bag right now. I don't know.
We did not plan this, by the way.
No, we did not plan.
Yeah. Richard did second.
They absolutely did. Please do not let them fool you. They absolutely planned it.
Talk about the flannel.
They did not tell me.
No way.
Yeah, we would have told you. I just appreciate the fact that Richard did Lower Broad as his background. That's
you know what?
Lower Broadway in Nashville.
Hey Trey, I got one more question until we jump into the fun.
All right.
This drug testing stuff is going crazy now about marijuana.
Right.
It's illegal.
Yeah.
Every state has their own laws. So going across companies and stuff like that, what are you seeing? Like, what are they doing on that end?
Yeah. So first of all, just assume everybody's smoking weed, man. I'm kidding. Not really, but yeah. So so what we're seeing with companies is it's making them a little crazy because the laws are different. So what we're seeing is, even because we handle drug testing too. Yeah. And so what we're having to do is, again, so let's just say you've got an office in Colorado and but your headquarters is here in Tennessee, where in Tennessee, we're still tap dancing around the whole medicinal question. But in Colorado, they're like, dude, light it up. I mean, okay, so your drug testing is going to have to be customized as well. And so people are still drug testing because you want to test for, and again, depending on your tolerances and what position this person holds. Okay. If this is somebody who's waiting tables in your restaurant, do you really care if they like smoke weed while they're at home? You might. I mean, who knows? But you're going to customize your drug testing to weed out all the big bad stuff and things like that. The two things that we see that are really critical for all businesses, and this is for all businesses, and this is another thing that makes me crazy that people, and again, it's an education thing. Drug screening doesn't mean you're automatically just trying to weed everybody out. Okay. Passing a drug screen. I mean, yeah, weed. I said weed. Wow. That's funny. But what you're doing is there's two things that happen here. First of all, if you ask one of your candidates, could you pass a drug test? Okay. If they're one of my buddies who's been a musician for 40 years, you're not going to see them again. Right. Unless they're in Colorado or someplace like that where, where it's legal. Right. The other thing is that you're looking for the really tough stuff. Right. And you can look at that, and then make your decision. Again, using this as part of you're protecting your company brand, right? So you're going to send that message up front. We're going to drug screen you. Can you pass? And you may even have the discussion with them that, okay, we're here in Colorado. That's not something we're going to test for. We're not worried about that. We're worried about the big stuff. The other thing too is that in a post-accident situation where something's happened on your property, something's happened in one of your company vehicles, you need a partner who is able to provide you post-accident. And that means having either something on site, like we even have kits that we can send you that are post-accident kits where you can do a swab, a saliva test right there and get and it won't give you it'll give you either a pass, like you're clean, or what's called a non-negative, which means, okay, now I need to send you to a clinic for a blood test. But you need something that is in place so that in a post-accident situation, you can find out quickly if there was drugs or alcohol involved.
Drugs or alcohol.
Yeah, because in a lot of cases, companies, they're doing the drug testing and everything. They've got a plan in place for pre-screening, and most places have some kind of a post-accident in place. Okay. But what I don't think they realize is that all that stuff needs to be in place, and a lot of times it can come from the same place. And a lot of the methods we use with like these kits, these on-site kits, you can even use like at a job fair. One of the things Catherine, our chief operations officer, has actually been to drug fairs back pre-COVID days where you can actually drug screen people right there on the spot using a swab and things like that. Same thing goes for a post-accident. You get that result quickly. The longer you wait to get somebody into a clinic, which is not always immediate, if it's in the middle of the night and things like that, they may not be always easy. With that, each passing moment, your liability grows. So, gotcha. And I'll tell you just a real quick story on that. So my son got rear-ended sitting at a light at 1 o'clock in the morning in Lebanon, Tennessee. Right outside of Nashville, a guy driving a company tanker truck, like a 18-wheeler with a tank full of gasoline. He was going to this truck stop. And I mean, my son was sitting still. If my son hadn't actually seen it, the headlights in his rear, he said it's like a horror show, the headlights getting bigger in your rear. He pulls slightly out of the way and he just gets tagged. Guy left the scene. And how do
you leave the scene in an 18-wheeler? Oh, you mean he left the truck and then he left?
He stuck his head out the window to make sure, I guess, my son wasn't dead, and he kept on rolling. Well, anyway, very, very quickly when the police arrived, they went and found the truck, and I don't know what happened next, but I do know this: the driver was off the job immediately as a protocol, and we never found out the end of the story. My thought was this: if that's one of my customers, okay, that guy's driving around in a vehicle that's got my brand on it, and something like this happens, I need to know immediately. There's really probably no reason for hitting somebody from the back, but you want to know if drugs or alcohol were involved. It presents additional liability because, trust me, my son's girlfriend has an ambulance chaser uncle. So they all over him. But for you as a company, I mean, you want to be able to get a supervisor out to the scene, swap, find out as much as you can as early as you can. It's just something people don't necessarily think about, but we can provide those kinds of things for you too. This is what I talk about, being a partner and having a customized process in place for your company. It's not one size fits all for everybody. And again, look at what your tolerances are.
Being in the staffing industry, we have companies sometimes that say they don't do any drug testing, no background, nothing. I mean, it's kind of risky to work for, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it is. And one of the I've joked about this, and someday it's going to happen. I've joked about this, but if they'll give me a few bucks, I'm going to do this. I joked about doing a series of commercials like Mayhem with the Allstate guy. Hi, I'm a streaker in a football game. He runs in traffic and people have a wreck. Yeah. I've thought about doing this. Like, hi, my name is Mildred. I'm the maid on the 3rd floor today at your fancy hotel. And while you're off at the amusement park, I'm helping myself to your left behind, to your wallet and things like that. There's all these scary notions, that you could potentially open yourself up to. But again, we all understand that in the world we live in, even good people will make bad decisions from time to time. But as a company, I just feel like it's foolish not to, because another two things real quick. I know I've like two things you to death, but when you do a background screen, yeah, I'll be back in 2 and 2. The other thing is that when you tell people you're doing a background screen, your caliber of candidate goes up. And I'm sorry, it just does. If they know they're going to pass a background screen, and it doesn't, and even for your company, it doesn't matter how stringent it is. You're sending a message that we're looking for a certain caliber of employee. And the other thing that happens is that you are ensured that when that person starts, you've got a certain amount of, you're relieved of a certain amount, I hate to say, of sort of your responsibility, because you've got a partner that's doing this for you. Now, none of us, if somebody misses, it's like there's a lot that protects your candidate and things like that because of FCRA, and there's a certain amount of protections that we all have in the process because it's not foolproof. But if you're not even trying, you're just opening yourself up to the opportunity. You just don't necessarily know. Anybody can look good in an interview, anybody can look good on a resume, but you don't know who you're hiring. And to that end, let me tell you one more quick anecdote. And I know we were supposed to talk 20 minutes and we're like going 35.
That's okay.
Quick anecdote. I had a guy renting on my property one time. He was renting a trailer from me because I'm in Tennessee and we all have trailers on our property somewhere. Anyway, so that's a joke. I'm kidding. Everybody in Tennessee.
Okay, we did here in Pittsburgh too.
But he had been in prison. He'd been in prison a couple of times, and he was having a hard time getting a job. And certain places were actually able to. He was actually able to get a job at a local company that I won't name. That was willing to let him be a convenience store clerk. I can't remember what it's called. It's not called a second chance rule, but there's some people who will look at things and be like, okay, with a certain amount of limited liability or limited responsibility, I'll give you a chance. Right. Yeah. But they knew going in, okay, he was in jail. He did a year for stealing somebody's credit cards. Okay. Personally, most companies not putting that guy handling money. This one company was like, okay, we know that. We put an extra measure of, but we're going to help this guy rebuild. Again, you've got to have a good, accurate check to understand who it is. And then you make the decision what your tolerances are and say that's your company's business, So, and I like that more companies are beginning to do that and saying, okay, look, how are these people ever, and like I said, good people will make bad decisions. Do you want to, I wouldn't do it, but some people would, of course I did.
Well, Rich and I are all for returning to work for folks who have had a history.
Wait, is it a law or a guideline? I can't remember what it's called. Is it called? It's not called the second chance.
I call it returning citizens is what I call it.
Yeah. Well, whatever the case is, I think it's great. And I think that's something that more people should do. But even that, you need to have something to go from, Yeah.
So. Well, I just want to, for anybody that's like, thinking about their employee or there's some of their employees that they're a little like, maybe I should have, these type of things are few and far between.
That's very, very true.
And I'm not going to share this little antidote because I don't want to get people, a little bit excitable. But so, again, I have the best stories. And again,
I can imagine.
I can't always listen. Some people haven't gotten caught yet.
Well,
I'm going to leave it there. Some people just haven't gotten caught yet.
I mean, we could talk about the drug stories. I've had people bring urine in from their girlfriends and put it in their pocket. I mean, everything. I mean, it's like, and I opened the door. Like, come on, man.
Do you remember the NFL? I almost remember the guy's name. He's a running back for the Vikings when the NFL started drug testing everybody. Do you remember the Whizzinator?
No. Yes. What is that?
It was basically a way for you to walk in and pass a urine test with crystallized urine from somebody else, even if there's somebody watching you. And I'm going to let your imagination kind of run wild with that. But it was called the Whizzinator, and apparently you could buy these things online so you could pass.
They have one when I was growing up called Tommy Woo. It was like party all night, clean all day.
Oh my gosh!
You just all right. Let's not tell on ourselves.
Right. What's funny is I've got for a guy who's been a musician most of my adult life. I was the most boring musician ever. I'm going to go on record, and I'm not kidding you. People back me up. I'm still probably the only American on the planet that's never smoked weed, like even once in my life. So I'm like, bring on the drug test, bro. I'm fine.
No,
you can take it for your
nothing. When I was on the road, when I was in my 20s, all those other guys smoked it all. I didn't need something else to deal with, man.
All right, so you are a musician.
Right.
Yes.
It sort of never leaves your blood. Not a professional musician, but I'm a musician, right?
Is your guitar? Do you have a guitar close by?
Well, I'm in Nashville, and we're issued guitars at birth when you're here.
Okay.
So, as a matter of fact,
Here we go.
So this is the world that we live in. Okay, so I have a very small house, and so my dining room here is also my office for you guys.
It looks lovely,
but it's also my studio, and my stress relief is I've always got a guitar or a bass within reach. So, so if it comes up, I can, so I can do a little.
Wait, you can't just play that.
I'm ready.
Come on.
Hey,
thanks,
you're
folks.
on.
Well, I didn't I worked late yesterday afternoon and then put on the dad hat and taking care of the kids and everything like that. I didn't have time to prepare anything for you. Maybe next time. See, I've heard that KG can sing. So maybe.
Well, no, you didn't. Who told you that?
Oh, wow.
You told me yesterday. You said I'll harmonize with you. I mean,
I know, harmonize with you. I never said I could sing.
Okay, that's still singing. I mean, it's like.
Well, my mother's probably watching, and she will tell you. She will say,
Hey, Trey, give us about 30 seconds, 45 seconds of some song. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Throw it out there for everybody.
All I could really muster this morning is blues this early.
And I'm playing my air guitar. So it's all good.
I got a shirt.
Got them staff and recruiting blues. Up to a neck and rhythm days. Well, I've got the staff shark recruiting blues. LinkedIn is where I spend my days. I wish all these people would just come up and be right up front with me that they did time and they got thrown in jail and I don't have to decide whether or not I want to hire. And that's all I got to say.
You went whole Eric Cartman on us.
Hey, you guys. I'm sorry. That's all I can muster this morning, man.
Wow, was that good?
Tell you
what,
that was the best.
Up now.
Listen, let me tell you something. There have been days, y'all have no idea. There are days. My joke has been that, the first time I cut my hair and sold out to the man was 25 years ago. And I've been doing corporate sales or service of some kind for 20. There are days it is so hard to sit through some of these conference calls without wanting to just pull out the guitar and just break up the monotony. And when I was at Sprint, I actually one time on a conference call where there were like 80 people. It was back in the days when everybody was just dialed in, so you couldn't tell who said anything.
Mm-hmm.
I went full Eric Cartman. I actually went on a conference call with about 80 people. I went, hey, you guys sick. Screw you guys. I'm going home.
Screw you guys. I'm going home.
I'm going home.
Listen, Trey, you have elevated yourself to now one of my favorite.
Now the trip.
Oh, we love you guys.
Trip,
anyone that makes up me and my crew, we make up songs too, and we're gonna have to get together one day. I'm gonna get you.
We'll write a true staffing and recruiting blues song. We'll actually, yeah.
I got some ideas for you, so I'm gonna talk to you offline. I got a few. What did they say? I got a few songs in me.
Hey, you know what? Everybody's got a few songs in them. You just got to understand how to get them out.
Amen.
This whole town was built on that. So I appreciate what it is you guys do. And I appreciate that you guys taking this forum and opening it up to, like I said, background screening. It's just like, most people think it's just like the most boring, again, check the box thing. So I appreciate you giving us a chance to kind of talk about what it is we do, why it is that we're different. And I'm hoping, like I said, I want to be the Tony Stark of background screening, a little irreverent and just sort of, just let's talk, let's have the conversation nobody wants to have.
The gospel.
And yeah, that's it. Yeah. I'm an evangelist, man. I'm an evangelist. Bring it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right. You guys ready for a fist pump? Trey, let's do the fist pump. KG, fist pump time. Come on.
How do you do that? We just like right here?
Right in the corner. Let's do it.
Oh,
Boom, boom.
Oh,
there we go. Gotcha.
Come on. Fist.
Oh, hang on. I can't find the right corner. There it is.
There it is. Connection. Yeah.
thank you so much, Trey. This has been a wonderful way.
Well, I appreciate you guys letting us go long.
I mean, to start our Thursday and end our pre-Friday, end our week.
Friday. It's Friday Eve, y'all.
Yes, it is.
Man. Enjoy
We
it.
look forward to continuing talking with you here in the future, and hope everyone will tune in next week for. I mean, I don't know. We got to keep. You guys are our guests are making it. We got to keep getting higher and higher, man.
I just raised the bar for whoever's next. Say what else?
Now you're old as me almost.
All right.
Let's do the Ric Flair. You ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah, we just raised the bar for whoever's next. You might not want to show this show to whoever you're interviewing next. I'm sorry. We just
did a Ric Flair
challenge. Okay. All
challenge.
right.
There you go.
Challenge. All right. Thank you guys, and we will see you next week.
Bye, everybody. Take care.
Bye.